Karen Kuntz, and I'm a professor emeritus from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and the owner and artist of Constellation Studios in Lincoln, Nebraska. Constellation Studios is located in downtown Lincoln on the eastern edge of downtown at 21st and O Street. So it's a very visible location. It has a neighborhood that is in transition. Residential and new buildings are being built all around. Old buildings are being taken down. Just last week, something disappeared. It's also beside urban redevelopment for the Antelope Park, and the creek has bike trails and cafe and fountains and outdoor sculpture. So it's really in a good location, and I like what's happening, and it's going to be very interesting to see all this new development in the neighborhood. Constellation Studios is my artist-owned business that I established 8 years ago as a community art center where we specialize in printmaking, book arts, and paper arts. And I have a lot of printmaking equipment, and I want to share it with other artists. So that's the model, is a collaborative print studio where other artists come in and work along with me or on their own independent projects. I can operate here with workshops, and artists join from the community to work on their own projects. And printmaking requires a lot of equipment, like I was saying, so it's not something everybody has on their own, but I've accumulated presses and specialty equipment for many years in my profession as an art professor, having studios on campus and at home, and now all the equipment is in one place here, and I want other people to take advantage of this big asset. It's a community asset because it's permanent. The equipment doesn't go out of date. In fact, they're very old. Some of the presses I've had for years, and some are about 75 years old. So it's a way to preserve technical information and knowledge and skill and pass it on to the next generation is my intention. I thought of this idea for many, many years. I have, of course, had my position at the university as a professor, and I had many opportunities to go as a visiting artist to art centers and universities all over the country, all over the world, in fact. Wonderful opportunities to go and teach and enrich other people's communities. I taught people there and saw their community engaged with printmaking and the kind of excitement that happens with working collaboratively together, and I didn't see that happening in Lincoln yet. So all along I thought, somebody's got to start that, and I've been waiting and waiting, and nobody has. So it kind of became my future plan for when I retired from the formal position at the university to having my own studio where I can foster the next generation and actually provide the transitional space that can happen once my students were out of school. Then here's a place to continue to operate as an artist, and I can enrich my own community instead of always going off and helping other people. So I want to bring it home and make that happen here. It's going to take some time. It's still growing. There's still visions of this being bustling and busy, but also the pace that it's at right now is manageable by me. There's only a part-time assistant who helps me, but kind of a small business model run by the owner and encouraging other artists to join me in this idea. I started doing printmaking, had my first experience even in high school. And that little bit of experience was exotic to me. It was really interesting, and I really enjoyed doing the linoleum block and a wood block and a screen print at that time. And then I must have gotten good feedback because then it made me want to do more when I came to the university. So I felt that printmaking was the right area for me. Somehow it just seemed more interesting and different than going with the herd of everybody else wanting to do painting or sculpture or photography. Those actually attract a lot more people, and printmaking always had a smaller group. And then the group worked together, even if you didn't talk. There were people all around you, and you felt like you were part of something. You learned just by watching or seeing the projects and the experiments and the failures from all those around you. And I'm kind of a quiet person, so having this opportunity to be part of a community that is the nature of the collaborative experience in a print shop, it just suited me. As a teacher, then I'm trying to instill some of that understanding and interest in my students, and of course it caused me to do more research and to contextualize why make prints, which is ultimately part of the question that everybody always asks. It's hard to do. It takes time and it's not immediate, so everybody needs to have some justification for why we're going through this angst of making the print and the cost and the time, and I have some pretty good arguments for why it meant something to me. I learned all the time. I learned about what it is I really wanted to do, and I saw amazing effects that you can't get any other way. Constellation has done a number of public art projects. And last summer we did one that was actually really successful and fun to do. We invited 9 artists to create a black and white woodblock print. And we printed the prints here, and then they were all wheat pasted around town in 10 or 9 different locations to create a public mural, in effect, from these 9 prints. Well, the prints were all very different, but they were united by the black and white graphic nature of the woodcut. Very powerful. Some were so wonderfully cut, and some were with lots of interesting nuances, and it turned out to be a really eye-opening experience for the 9 artists. And then out in the community, people could go to the different venues and see the different ways it was installed. My wheat pasted public art is falling off the wall now. They weathered over the winter and spring, and they're blowing away in the wind. On a national and international level, the printmaking community is very connected. We call it there's a family tree that people can all start tracing themselves through who their teachers were, who were their influences, where did they take a workshop somehow, and that created a connection. And I love that about printmaking, so I can contact people from all over, and then it puts other connections. So I think it's actually really healthy and large out there. Thousands of printmakers. Nobody's done a count. And the actual reason why Constellation Studios is called that is because of the metaphor of the network. And it's actually very wide and large as a constellation in the sky, but it's not physically connected, it's conceptually connected. And I like that idea that I have this network that I've established from my years of my profession, and I can bring that connection here, even if it's not physical. People are knowing about what I'm doing here.